Don't you just hate when ghosts don't respect personal boundaries? Insidious, first watch review. Hey Twisted people, it's your Twisted Girl next door here, and today I'm doing my first watch review segment because if I haven't seen it before, it's new to me. Insidious deals with a married couple with a couple of kids, and they're plagued by some really unruly and rude ghost that plagues their son. Overall, for me, I thought this movie had a certain rawness to it that I really appreciated. From the way it was filmed, it kind of gave off this documentary vibe where it seemed a little bit more intimate with the camera work. And I really appreciated that it wasn't heavy CGI when it came to the jump scares and the monsters and ghosts. The characters. I just want to say that it is such a refreshing thing to watch a family unit in a horror picture where the family as human beings aren't screwed up and broken humans. I've seen one too many films in the last couple of years where the real horror, and sometimes it's smart when they do it this way, but sometimes it just feels so overdone. It's such a overdone trope, because not all tropes are bad, but the family is just crappy. Like, you're thinking, why did these people get married? That kid is really obnoxious. Oh my gosh, how are these people even still existing? They all seem so miserable. Oh my gosh. You know, and if you kind of cared about it even more because you're like, hey, these people are fine. Leave them alone, you know? As opposed to hating them and being like, well, that's the least of your problems is that ghost. The characters were smart too. In the sense of when stuff started to go down, we also know there's another trope when it comes to these films where stuff starts to go down and no one wants to believe it, even though it's so obvious to the audience and to anybody else in real life. It would be obvious to them too that something's not right here and you should act accordingly. And so often with scripts, they make it so that the characters, at least one or two of the ones that are the decision makers, just are really oblivious, just so that the plot can continue, right? It's so contrived, and it's like, well, if you have to do that to your characters to make it so this plot continues, maybe it's not a very strong plot. And I appreciated that this film allowed the characters to be smart and make seemingly smart decisions, even if it worked or not. Because then, once again, as the viewer, you're like, man, these people are actually okay, and they're smart. They should be able to beat this thing. Like, you care. The kids aren't obnoxious. Oh my gosh. Once again, it's another trope in horror pictures where the kid is just so unruly and usually stupid, and they just don't listen to the parents, so they get themselves in trouble, and ultimately the parent ends up having to sacrifice themselves or something because the kid didn't listen, or someone dies in relation to trying to save this kid. And I appreciated that I actually, not only did I tolerate the kids in this film, I actually liked them. The narrative is very quality plot line. This is spoiler free, of course. I just liked the way that the story unfolded. I thought it did it in a great way. It's not a long movie, and the pace really works in terms of unfolding the mystery of what's going on there with the ghosts, with the family and things of that nature. And there's a good payoff in that sense when things are explained, because you built up to that moment in a way that wasn't overdone, wasn't long, and it made sense. It was satisfying, and I enjoyed the narrative in this. It was a good script. It was just a good ghost plural-s story. Humor. There's humor in this movie that I liked. I thought there was a good balance of humor in there, because once again, sometimes you can have it so that if there's humor in it, it takes away from the stakes, and suddenly you can't take it as seriously because your mind has shifted to, oh, this is kind of funny, and it's not, and you don't take it as serious. And I think this movie did a good job of keeping that balance, of making it so that sometimes there were characters that made jokes and things of that nature, and things were funny, but overall, this was a serious plot. In terms of flaws, there was nothing glaring to me. And like I said, I'm not one to search for something wrong just to say something wrong about a film, because that's why I do major pros and major cons, because I don't care to nitpick, right? I just think, there's no reason to do that if it's a good enough film. Just like there's no reason to find good stuff if it's a bad film. Oh my gosh. But in this sense, the flaws was nothing glaring. I will say that if you are someone who you really like overly like gory, bloody, CGI, big time, like gross out when it comes to monsters and ghosts and things of that nature, this may not be the movie for you. I actually didn't see that as a negative because, you know me, less is more for me. But I think for people who might be desensitized because of today's horror that's so like show you everything, you may think that this isn't as effective in terms of the ghost, in terms of the scares, in terms of what's supposed to be scary. I thought this movie was scary. I jumped. It wasn't something that I was scared so much or something like that. It wasn't something where I stayed up at night, but it was definitely something where I jumped. There were a few moments I was like, whoa, what was that? This is Stab approved. I thought it was an effective movie. I enjoyed the characters. I think this is the first time in a minute where I've seen a movie where I did not hate anybody. Because, I just don't like people sometimes. But, yeah, I actually really dug it. I kind of, took me so long to get around to actually watching this film since it came out a couple of years ago. But it's new to me. So, did you watch Insidious? Do you agree with my assessment, or am I totally off? Let me know. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. And also, be sure to subscribe so that you are the first to know when I post my videos of all things horror. Thanks for watching. Let's get creepy together.